What's up? I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast,
where we interview successful businessmen and women to let you in on why success doesn't have a single formula to follow.
We also have a little bourbon tasting along the way, because why not?
Why not?
So guys, please enjoy this episode and let us know your thoughts at Bourbon and Business Podcast on Instagram.
Coming to you from the Bourbon and Business Studio here in the Capitol Club in downtown Jackson, Mississippi. I'm Tyler.
I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast. How you doing this morning, Dakota?
I'm incredible, Tyler. I always feel like a newscaster. I just want to look right at the camera.
You kind of look like Ron Burgundy right now. So.
Well, that's a huge compliment. I'll take that. Thank you, sir.
But
I am kind of a big deal. So.
It's nice to be back in the Capitol Club downtown here. You want to tell our guests about the views that we have here at the Capitol?
I mean, they're the best views in downtown Jackson. In the Jackson Metro, I'd argue.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got daily lunches here. They've got everything.
Yeah, and if you're not a member, you need to join today.
You are missing out.
And then what? You want to introduce our guests to us?
I do. Today we have special guest, Eddie Coleman. Eddie, welcome. He is the GM of Elite Roofing and Gutters.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Good to be here.
Glad to have you. And then what are we sipping on this morning?
Today we're sipping on something a little special, a little different. It is Japanese whiskey.
I know. And so,
It
no, I cannot. I'm not going to try to.
is Hatozaki.
Hatozaki.
Wow.
So it's hard
You
for me
did
to even
good.
say it after I copy you.
Yeah,
but
it's okay.
it's
why I'm
very
here.
unique. So I've never seen a whiskey so clear.
Yeah.
It almost looks like a vodka, but it does taste like a whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
I really I like it a lot. It's got a good burn. I know that you'll like it. The burn kind of stays in your chest a little bit.
Ooh.
So it kind of warms you up on a cold day.
Yep.
I might have to give it a 9.4.
Ow.
So it's
Four.
I mean it's a really good whiskey. I will definitely be putting this bottle on my shelf at
What's
the
the
house.
proof on it?
Man, that's hard to say. I'm going to have to say a 98.
It's an 80 proof.
Okay. Well, we're way off on that. So I'm not very experienced in the Japanese whiskey space.
Yeah, you need to
So-
broaden your horizon a little bit.
But very good. We want to thank our sponsor, Cheers Vineyard, in Gluckstadt, Mississippi. If you are looking to purchase some whiskey, some bourbon, some vodka, really whatever it is, you need to check out Cheers Vineyard and ask for JT. He'll be able to help you with all your
He
needs.
knows all about Japanese whiskey, too.
Yeah. Very good. Well, Eddie, we'd like to just start this off, kind of just give our listeners your background, where you're from, and then how you got into the roofing business.
Absolutely. Well, I've come from a very big metropolis in Mississippi called Eupora, Mississippi.
Okay.
Huge town. Most people have been there. Went to school at Ole Miss from there. Graduated, and that brought me to Jackson. I started with a local Jackson company, and with that company was the first time I was at the Capitol Club 25 or so years ago. Was First Tower Corp or First Tower Loan, and stayed with them for a couple of years. It was an office job, a corporate job, and I had a big crazy title, Director of Marketing and Human Resources, so you come right out of college, you think, oh, I got a big title. I got
That's a two for one there.
Yeah.
after a little bit, after about a year and a half doing that, great people, great company, taught me so much, but I really had a yearning to deal more with the public, get back out in the public. And a thought that I had in college, and my father had said something to me about getting into the insurance game, and said something one time. He said, son, if he didn't graduate college, he had a couple of years. He said, if I'd have got a 4-year degree, I would have been able to become an insurance agent and probably would have had an easier life. And that just stuck with me, and he was very big about driving me to get that 4-year degree. And he passed away when I was 21, so I definitely wanted to go ahead and do that. And his word stuck with me. So I left Tower Loan and joined Shelter Insurance. I was a Shelter Insurance in Pearl. I ran my own agency for 21 years. So I kind of got into it young, reached a level to where I could retire. And so I chose an early retirement. And in that process of what am I going to do next, I met Joe Boyd a few years ago. Joe is the owner of Elite Roofing and Gutters. And I kind of saw what, the type of person Joe was, on the type of company he was trying to build, and the success that they were having, selling a lot of P&C insurance, homeowners policies. Well, I understood that fairly decently. And I could see where that roofing industry was pretty much funded by insurance. So I figured that was fairly safe. I didn't think there was anything going to come along and replace a roof, like some new invention is going to come along and we don't need roofs anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this should be a good industry that's growing, that's that should be funded, that should be safe for me to get into for the next 20 something years, do a second career, second retirement. And in talking with Joe, he was looking to scale his business. And of course, being in insurance, all the sales classes, and you're taught every sales technique. And, so I could come in, and I joined him as a sales manager. And quickly, we had success, not because of me, just because of the amazing team that we had and what Joe had built. And the company doubled in size pretty quickly. And as we grew, new needs, I ended up becoming general manager about 2 years ago. And I'm starting my 5th year now. We're continuing to grow. We just rebranded. Felt that was a necessity. So things have been going very well for me.
Well, great. Well, tell our listeners a little bit about, all the sales training that you had. But what was the difference in sales and insurance versus in the roofing industry? What does that look like?
Well, as you know, when you're selling an insurance policy, you're selling really and truly a piece of paper and a promise, right? You're not delivering a true product at that time, especially when you get into life insurance sales. Now, that's a fun one. That's a promise for that you
Just
as the
in case.
customer. Yeah, you're never going to realize the benefit of someone, your loved ones, your family, or whatever will. So that's a hard sell. And you got to maintain customer service first and foremost. I mean, if you're building a book of business, there's no way you're going to be successful if you have people leaving you all the time and you're not servicing them. They're not pleased with you.
Especially in the South.
Oh, yeah. That probably means more than anything, and that's what I missed working at Tower. I missed that interaction with the public.
Yeah.
So I sold in a relationship-based selling manner, and these people became a lot of my friends and things. And of course, you work your circles of influence, and it was just a great thing, and there's still days I miss it because of the people. You know?
Well, as far as on the roofing side, what's the sales process like there?
Well, when you're selling a roof, and generally we deal in the re-roof process. So, usually a storm or some sort of damage, or the roof has just worn out like a set of tires, they do wear out. That's where we enter the game. And so we have to be in that person's yard, at their home, at their residence, or at their business, to do the transaction, so to speak. Insurance, they're coming to you, you're in your office, maybe on the phone, maybe some internet. But here, at some point in the ball game, we have to be standing in your front yard.
Yeah. And
so there's a unique factor. There's, you kind of have to go to them. Then the next thing is insurance is competitive. There's an insurance agent on every corner, but I would argue roofing, especially in the Jackson metro area in Mississippi, is getting more competitive. There's a new roofer every 5 minutes.
I feel like I'm always getting new flyers in the mail from somebody wanting to look at the roof.
Absolutely. Or the best case scenario that most people can relate to, if you live in a subdivision or something along those lines, nice neighborhood, as soon as an event happens, high winds, a little bit of hail, it looks like election day. All the signs pop out. You're getting the door knocks, at Saturday morning, 9 a.m., here's your door knocking, and I know no human being enjoys that. I understand that. But that's a part of the sales process in roofing. You have to be at that person's property at some point. So that's a unique factor in it.
Well, what are you teaching your staff, and specifically your sales staff, to keep them motivated on a daily basis? Because, you get someone, in the sales game, you come out, you're excited about it. In the first year, you're hot. Maybe the second year, you're hot. But then at some point, it just becomes like a hamster wheel.
It does.
How do you keep those employees motivated and keep them pushing towards their sales goals?
So it's all about metrics, KPIs, right? You cannot manage what you cannot measure, right? So roofing industries are nowhere near as professional a salesperson as like an insurance agency. So that was something I had to deal with early on and make an adaptation that, in insurance, you're trained, you probably have a degree, you're developed into a professional salesperson. Well, in construction sales, it's more blue collar. You're not as many salespeople are college educated. These are just things. But if you can get them hungry, right? You get these guys hungry. Some guys are just not good at school, at math, science, things, but they can build you anything. They have those talents and things. That applies well in this because needs to be some know-how in how a roof goes on and off and what's proper and not, so that they can address the problem and just help you through the process. But to motivate them, we're on a point system. So we call it winning the week. Did you win the week? So at the end of the day, I don't want to have to motivate them myself. I want them to understand, maybe be able to self-analyze. How did I do do this week? It's not just numbers. What did I sell? You know, you could make a big sale that was just fell in your lap and was easy. But did you put the work in, planting the seeds, prospecting? Then you know in your heart, okay, I'm set up good for next week. Or if my points are low and I didn't do very much prospecting, you know, life got busy, the weather was bad, whatever, I got more work to do next week. So internally that helps us, and not just a drive by sales numbers, but more we try to measure it by activity, because we know if you do the proper activity, just like if you do enough quotes in insurance, you should sell X amount of policies. And well, are you quoting? Because if you're not quoting, what do you expect to sell policies? It's kind of the same thing. If you're not prospecting in our business, then how do you expect to sell roofs?
Yeah, that's one big thing, you know, that I preach and that I used in my sales career was, you know, it was a big thing to break it down to a weekly and even a daily thing. But you know, my big thing was earn your weekends. You know, if you want to go out on the weekend and you want to play golf or you want to, you know, do whatever and feel good about it, then put the work in through Monday and Friday, and then you can turn the light off and you leave the office on Friday and enjoy that. But vice versa, if you don't, then you may need to pick that computer up on Saturday and get some work done. So it's, you know, in the sales game, it's not a 9 to 5. You know, people think, oh, you know, it's 8 to 5. I'm gonna get to the office and leave. No, it's you got to put the work in and, you know, to get the result, regardless of what time it takes. And so for any young salespeople out there, I would say, you know, you got to be willing to grind, especially early on until you build that market of referrals.
That's right.
And once you can do that, you still got to put the work in there, but it's a little bit easier when you got the referrals.
It's more into customer service. Servicing your base, servicing your customers. You know, big thing for us is the 5-star reviews. You know, the serving our customer, the really turn them into an advocate. You know, it's all a sales pitch. I understand that, but we really, as a company, strive and have policies and procedures in place to guarantee, you know, every way that we can that you're happy as a customer for doing business with us. And that's your best marketing. That's your best. You can't get a better advertising dollar or something spent on than a customer singing your praises.
For sure. No doubt.
Well, tell us a little bit about the from complete exteriors to elite roofing and gutters. What does that mean for homeowners and businesses?
Great question. And I love answering it because once I say it, it makes sense to most people. If we say, I work for complete exteriors, in your mind, what is that?
I'm thinking siding, brick, all that kind of stuff.
Landscape, doors, windows, all that, right? So we are a GC. We could build you a house. But over time, what Joe built and developed was we are good and masters at roofing and gutters. So we call it making cheeseburgers. When we're making cheeseburgers, when we're doing roofing and gutter work, whether it's residential or commercial, we're in our happy zone. All our talents and everything is lined up to do great jobs at that. When we break off over here and decide, oh, let's start building spaceships, making pizzas instead of cheeseburgers, guess what? We're not set up as well for that. You know, that's when the difficulties and things come in. So if we can focus and maintain that, it makes sense. Then I was able to purchase a smaller roofing company called Elite Roofing Services. And when you roll that up and then kind of curing the sins of the past with complete exteriors, you roll that together, that's where it was born Elite Roofing and Gutters. So kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And now when we say it, everyone clearly understands what we do for a living and what we're good at.
Branding is so important in today's day and age. I mean, if you are not communicating what you do or who you are through just your name, then people, they don't care enough to actually dig into what you're doing, right?
It's ruthless out there.
Especially in a high traffic situation like roofing.
The Google world, the Facebook world, our marketing team that we engaged at the first of the year helped us through the rebranding process and really guided us. And then also they're great at helping us through the Google and Facebook game and all that. So making all those changes with an outlook to the future. Joe started this in Pearl, in the Jackson metro area. And when I got along and as the company grew, we expanded to an office in Hattiesburg, office in Gulfport, and just opened an office in Oxford. So our goal is, you know, all the populated areas of Mississippi to serve the entire state. We just got our Alabama license just recently. We've had a Louisiana license, so now it's 3 states and 4 offices in the state of Mississippi. So again, that's more so where the complete exteriors, you know, those on the coast, that brand is nowhere near as strong as it is here. So if you're starting the Google game and all that and putting billboards up, Elite Roofing and Gutters should lead the way and should help us expand to be the size that we are dreaming of.
Well, and it is such a big thing now. You know, your name is a major thing now because of Google, things like that. You know,
SEO, search
people are looking.
I still think it's black magic. You know, there's enough proof in there that I have to say, yeah, I guess it is real.
There's a little bit of pay to play there. For sure.
It is.
There's also a lot of, you know, I've always wanted to say I want like a I don't know if you guys have ever seen Parks and Rec, but there's Ron Swanson on there starts a wood company, and it's like Good Wood Company or something like that. So if you Google Good Woodworking Company, that's gonna be the first one that pops up, right? So Elite Roofing and Gutters. That's what you do.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Should be good at it.
Yeah.
If you say elite, if you put that name out there like that, you better be able to stand tall and uphold that, because if not, you're going to get made fun of a lot.
Yeah.
Well, tell our listeners a little bit, what's storm time look like for y'all? So we have, obviously, Mississippi, or here in the South, really, we have a ton of storms, whether it be hurricanes, tornadoes, pretty much whatever you can think of from a storm, hail, we have it here. What does your team do when that happens?
So, obviously, like you, I was on the other side of it for a long time. And, when the storms come through, the first thing that kicks in is customer service. These people bought that piece of paper from you. Now it's time to deliver on that promise. And I totally understand that. That was ingrained into me. And we have taken that same approach, and we sell to serve. That's really the way we look at it. We don't really do fist bumps and jump up and down when we see a storm on the deal. I know, yes, that's how we make money. I understand that. Ultimately, if we service a customer and we really sell to serve, that turns them into an advocate. Just this weekend, Sunday morning, we got a call from an insurance agent. We love working with insurance agents. Had a customer had a camper in Raleigh, Mississippi, roll over the house.
Oh my!
Took the front porch off. Camper's laying in the front yard. So 7:30 Sunday morning, still raining. Needs it tarped. At 10:30, I had guys there. We're tarping the house. And I'm serving that insurance agent, and yes, serving that customer, but making him look good, because I'm a tool for him to take care of his customer. Insurance, just writes checks, but that recommendation, and I take that to heart. If they call and ask for our service, we all treat them like it's our grandmother's house. And those people are taken care of, buttoned up, rain not damaging the rest of their stuff. And they've got obviously lots of issues. That's the way we look at it. How can we serve our community? If we do that job, the money works itself out. The marketing works itself out. So that's how we kind of focus in on it.
What would you tell consumers, customers out there, the do's and don'ts during storm time? So they have a storm come through.
Yeah, great question.
What should they do immediately, and then what should they watch out for?
So, 3 things minimum. And what's going to happen, like we said, election day, door knocking, you're going to get flooded. And look, you may have shingles missing. You may have a leaking going on. You may have, like this guy, holes literally. Sure. You got to make a decision relatively quick. Please, I beg you, do a little due diligence. First and foremost, does your contractor have a license? I mean, that shouldn't really have to say that.
Yeah.
But in our world, it's amazing the amount of that pop up started yesterday and don't have a license. You can go to the Mississippi Board of Contractors website. It's super easy to look up. And if you can't find their license like very quickly, there's something weird going on.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
Red flag, huge. Next thing, do they have insurance? These people are going to tear the top of your home off, right? And try to put it back. So many bad things can happen. And if that does, and they don't have insurance, now your insurance is going to have to pay or take care of, if they will. And the liability issues of that. All of our crews, we have insurance, of course, and all of our crews have general liability insurance. So not only is it just us, the crews, the subcontractors we use, they can't work for us if they don't have insurance. So they should be able to provide that to you immediately. Third, probably the simplest and easiest, go to Facebook and Google. Yeah. If they don't have more than 4 or 10 or whatever Google reviews and they're their buddies, that's a red flag.
That's what I tell my wife with Amazon reviews all the time. I'm like, check the reviews. I tell everybody this, actually. Check the reviews. If it's less than like 100 reviews or 1,000 reviews, depending on the product, don't even look at buying it. Nope. Because it's probably fake.
Yeah. Go to their Facebook page. A, do they have a Facebook page? B, if they do, did it start 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Right? And these have got to be huge red flags. I'm not saying Joe started at 1.2. Everybody starts somewhere.
Sure.
I'm not saying a startup can't do you a good job, but if they can't at least get a license, some insurance, and a couple people to review their work, red flags.
Yeah.
Might want to look at somebody else.
Yeah. And one big thing I'd say too is make sure they have a local presence, like in the community. If it's somebody coming through town that's, going to be moving through town, then guess what? If they put that roof on and they give you a warranty and they're in, Washington State, the next time you need them to come fix that warranty.
No good. Yeah. The second that check's cashed, that warranty is over with.
Probably not going to do you any good. So just, I'm not, like you said, there's some that come through and they do a great job, do good work, but be very careful. Make sure they have a local presence. Somebody you can get in touch.
We run into this right now with the storms. We're doing a lot of work in Grenada and in Greenwood, Mississippi, areas we don't have a brick and mortar office in, but right there in Oxford, right here, Google reviews. Here's my insurance. Here's our license. Yeah. We can put customers at ease really quickly to understand and to get them in touch with people close that we have done business with in their area that they can talk to and figure out, hey, I do want to trust these people to do work on my home.
And when I'm saying local, I mean in the state, really and truly. If you're in the state of Mississippi, obviously you can probably get in touch with that person. Sure. But if they're coming from California, the chances of you getting in touch with them ever again,
they're gone.
Not very high.
That was a fake number anyway they gave you.
Well, tell us a little bit about, so you've got all these offices, you are expanding. What is it like to manage all that?
I call myself, instead of general manager, I appreciate that. I really refer to myself as janitor and firefighter.
There you go.
I'm either cleaning up a mess or putting out a fire, It's all about the technology. So right now I could pull out my iPhone and I can tell you every project that we're doing in Mississippi, whether we have one in Meridian going right now, we have one going in Grenada, one on the Gulf Coast, and one in Hattiesburg. I can pull those up and show those to you in real time. What stage that project is in, the pictures, the documentation. So for me, Joe, our managers, to be able to do that is a huge benefit. That allows to ensure that a elite roof is installed on the coast in Meridian. Everywhere we do, we have the checklist. We put a field supervisor, a company guy on every project, and that is his job, is to document quality control, following a checklist to make sure that crew is doing exactly what they're supposed to do. All issues are addressed. Nothing is covered up or hidden from the homeowner. Everything is wide open. We share those links with the homeowner so they can watch their roof being installed in real time, so they don't have to worry. I mean, think about it. Most people will tell you, like, oh, I kind of want to be home when y'all do it. Well, I totally understand that, but this allows them a peace of mind that they can go back to work if they choose, and then, I can just follow along and I can see exactly where it's at. And that's really the only way you can manage things like that. If your contractor gives you an estimate on just a piece of paper and a notepad and writes down roof, $19,000, walks away, I don't think they're going to have technology and policy and procedures that are going to relatively guarantee you're getting a good job done.
Yeah. And speak to our listeners a little bit. Say they're running a company and they haven't invested in technology, even it not being a roofing company. How important is that to your growth, being able to have the technology needed to be kind of at the elite status?
It's the only way that you can replicate. So when Joe started it, Joe was a mechanical engineer. He came down from college and all to Nissan. I met a Mississippi woman, and that kept him here. Got involved with a friend that was in the construction business and got exposed to roofing. His mechanical engineering mind fires off and he really falls in love with it. Hence how he got into roofing.
Sure.
So one man can only do so much. So how on a daily basis do we ensure that a Joe Boyd elite roof is installed just like he would, best we can replicate him without cloning him or something, like these dire wolves? That's kind of crazy.
I saw that yesterday. That was wild. That's a whole other podcast. That was crazy, man.
But that's how I think they're going to be expensive. But that's how we can ensure that. And if you don't have the technology or some sort of process, please tell me how to do it, because I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's really good.
So, tell us a little bit about, so I know you've said that the places y'all have expanded, but are there any other expansions coming up for Elite Roofing?
Mostly the focus right this minute is to expand those branches out at the moment. We do have a project in Alabama going on here soon, hence why we got the license. And we will let the weather dictate some. One reason for our Gulfport office is, look, we understand Mississippi probably going to get hit by a hurricane at some point. Yeah. When that happens, just like you said, so many people from Texas and all over Florida are going to flood into the Mississippi Gulf Coast and try to do that. We want to be so well established, sponsoring the kids' softball teams and the basketball banners at the schools, really in our community. Our people live there. The office is right there on Seaway. I mean, you're dealing with a local company. I think so many people expand too fast just to say they're somewhere. Right. But are you really there? Do your people live there, or are you playing the SEO game of, I have a mailbox at the UPS store that says I have an office here, but no, there's no one there, right? So we want to do it the right way. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Yep. Integrate into the community. Like Oxford, we just opened that office. We've already sponsored the Double Decker Festival. We have brick and mortar there. We have people that live there. Getting into that community and being a true supporter of that community, to me, that is the successful growth that's going to build the foundation that when we decide to go multi-state with brick and mortar, that we can have the foundation set in stone that's going to allow us to support and grow into the wherever else in the Southeast we decide to go.
A very wise way to do it there, I think.
Yeah,
So,
no doubt.
well, tell our listeners if someone's out there and they've got roof issues or looking for someone to hear this episode and they're like, man, sounds like a great company.
Yeah.
What is the best way to get in touch with y'all?
Best way to get in touch is our website, www.eliteroofer.com. I'll just search Elite Roofing and Gutters, Pearl or Oxford or Hattiesburg. Use the old Google machine or call us 601-26-2755. That main number will get you to us. We'd love to just consult with people. We deal with so many people that are already or have talked with a guy that banged their door and talked them into filing an insurance claim. The claim didn't get bought.
Got burned. Yep.
They only buy one slope or a repair, and they just, I don't want that. They leave them. Now this customer has a claim on file, doesn't know what to do. No one's helping her or them, and they're just sitting there stuck. Call us. We have the knowledge and the background to deal with insurance and help you through that process. And we're not going to just tell you to file a claim unless we kind of talk with your insurance agent, and get you involved in that process. We're not adversarial to insurance. We want to be used as a tool, as a partner. We can do that partnering, and we've had great success partnering with insurance agents, helping them, not just hurting them, making you look good to your customer. Obviously, we benefit, when the work needs to be done. Well, we'd like to be the one to do it. And it's a good relationship. So, if we can focus on things like that and help get into that conversation with people, then we can help that person.
Yeah.
But you got to get us in the mix. You got to call us, reach out to us. We'll come running.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, to all our listeners, how have you streamed this?
Ask me what I think about the
Man,
Yeah,
well, it's been a while since we've got together.
cool.
What are
He's
your-
out
what-
of tune a little.
I thought it was good. It kind of tastes like sake to me. If you've ever had that, I don't think you have. Which is another. I think it's a Japanese rice wine. I think is what it's called. But it tastes good. It's very unique. That's for sure. I'd like a little bit more flavor to it. I felt like it was a little lacking. It was kind of bland, so I'm gonna land it at 8.7.
8.7.
But I think it would pair really well with food.
Okay.
We will end at a 9.0. And to all our listeners, again, however you stream this podcast, if you would give us a rating, please, and follow us on social media. Also, reach out to us. We have the text function. We'd love to hear from you, hear your thoughts, and we will see you next week. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
If you have any feedback or would like to be featured, reach out to us at bourbonandbusinesspodcast@gmail.com.
Or find us on Instagram at Bourbon and Business Podcast.
Thanks again for listening.
Follow us for more content and info on the next episode.